Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another daily Marvel Snap video. Today we have a list called Toxic Sera, and it was created by a user named Les in the KM Best Discord, and from there a few other people picked it up, a few other people played it, and I finally decided to test it out and try it, and it has felt pretty solid. So a lot of times I'm very cautious about Luke Cage and Hazmat, but in this list that's not your primary win condition. Luke Cage sometimes is just a good tech into bad locations. Sometimes the Hazmat, if they flood the board, might benefit you, but a lot of times I find that the Hazmat is not the winning play. But sometimes it is if you have it in unison with your Luke Cage. And then the rest of it is very similar to a Sera counter style deck list, but it has the added benefit of having a couple of higher power cards. So a lot of times the Sera Tech deck, if your opponent is running kind of that mid-range value that is just under Shang-Chi range but doesn't have any ongoing abilities to be targeted by your Enchantress, a lot of times you're not going to be able to keep up with just a good value deck that stays under that 9 power. With this one, we have a couple of different ways to push quite a bit of power onto the board. We can either drop the Typhoid Mary and then later Enchantress it. We can drop Typhoid Mary, have our Luke Cage. We have the Nova to buff up the rest of our cards. The Killmonger right now gets insane value just because it's not ran as often as it used to be. And we're seeing a lot of Thanos stones. We're seeing a lot of lists play Sunspot, and they don't always have armor to protect it. And so a lot of times that power is just kind of hanging out there in the open. And so overall, I really enjoy this list. I've been having a lot of success with it versus Thanos, decent success with it versus Shuri, and then just anything else it can adapt pretty well to. And just as a reminder, if you haven't already, make sure to follow us on twitch.tv. That is where we will be playing this deck and other decks in a less structured way live for you guys to check out how they fare in a bigger sample size. But with the brief deck explanation out of the way, let's go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, so first up we have Sasquatch, and we actually just lost or dropped a match to Sasquatch because they flipped into Leech and it took out our Shang-Chi, so we weren't able to counter what they were going to play. We had our Killmonger. They're running a Thanos deck. So we know a little bit more about what they're running, and we can adjust how we're playing because of it. The loss was something we maybe could have curved out our cards a little bit quicker had we anticipated the Leech, but since we didn't, it's not one that I wanted to showcase. So let's go ahead and change the Quantum Realm. We don't get a lot of value from the Quantum Realm. They get a decent amount, especially with like a Lockjaw rotation. The cards they rotate are no longer going to be reduced to 2 power, so it makes it really tough for us to win in that scenario. We do have our Zabu, so our 4-cost cards can be reduced. We have our Sera. I say we go ahead and, unfortunately, I think we skip this turn to let the rocks disappear, which we really want to play on curve, but the Collapsed Mine, you don't really want to leave that hanging if you don't have to. I'm going to go ahead and do the Zabu and the Lizard. They played their Time Stone on turn 1 to be able to get their Lockjaw out early, and so they didn't really get the value from playing him early. Hopefully they have Leech in hand and they play it on 5, because we're going to try to curve out our impactful cards before then. So they rotate 3 cards here. They go full tilt here. They have the She-Hulk. The Reality Stone changes into Stark Tower, which is big for them. The Kang, so it's going to restart the turn, and so they're going to be able to see what we play, but we also know what they are rotating into. So we know that they rotate into at least their She-Hulk, potentially their Quinjet if they rotate 2 cards, but we also know that they don't rotate into a Leech. So they can rotate into 1 additional card outside of the She-Hulk and the Quinjet once this turn rewinds. So they even have the variant for Kang, the pixel variant at that. I wonder if they bought it or if they happened to pull it. I'm going to go ahead and play the same way that we played last time. We're going to do Zabu and Lizard. Going into turn 5, we either do our Sera or we do an early Shang-Chi. It really depends, because we don't want to be stuck with Shang-Chi in our hand once the Leech, or if the Leech comes down, which is the biggest issue with some kind of like really heavy end-game combo or counter deck. So they are opting to only rotate 2 cards here. So it should be the She-Hulk, and then the next one should be the Quinjet, and then we don't know what comes after that. So the Reality Stone does change it into the Cloning Vats this time, so it does change it into a different location. Oh, and not the Quinjet. So it changes that piece of the rotation. Oh, that's where it rotated into Kang. Do they opt to play the Leech here though? Is my concern. If they opt to play the Leech, that's really tough on us. I think we play the Shang-Chi. If they Leech us, we get Shang-Chi back in our hand unleached. It's Shang-Chi unleashed. We're gonna do Nova as well. We're going to have a chance to top deck into the Killmonger, which would be Or maybe even the Typhoid Mary would be decent. The Luke Cage and Hazmat are not going to be as great for us. So let's go ahead and play the Shang-Chi. It is the Leech play, and they're opting to not rotate it, interestingly enough. So we do get the good read. We get the cloning vat value by pushing the unleached Shang-Chi back in our hand. The unleached Nova. Let's see if we can get maybe a Killmonger. Luke Cage. Unfortunately, we get Luke Cage. Lucas Cages. Maximus mid. Shang-Chi right. They could do an arrow here. Maybe an arrow to the left and they would win. An arrow to the right would win, potentially. We're going to let it play out. I think the Leech is impactful, but since we played around it, we have a little bit better positioning. They can rotate. They can go full tilt and rotate all of their cards in the left, but they would have to throw quite a few stones, their Quinjet, to get that value, and then it comes down to how are they going to push for the win in the other two lanes. We know that Kang is now out of the picture. We don't have to worry about Kang coming down and then giving them the read on our location, so we're fine there. So they rotate two cards, one Soul Stone, and is the last one the arrow? So it rotates into the Mind Stone, which is not phenomenal for them. Maybe they just absorb energy with the Sunspot in the right lane. So we get one additional Raptor. Funny enough, is that going to be the tiebreaker? Oh, reality is so disappointing. So we do get the lucky Raptor, the extra 1 point in value. Otherwise, it would have came down to a point differential. We would have won anyways, but their rotations were absolutely really bad. Luckily for us, they rotated into two bad cards, and we sneak away the win. We will take it. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, first up we have the Jeff Hoogland. And I know that he's live right now. He's running Kang. I'm going to be running Kang a little bit later from when this is actually being recorded. Let's see if we can go for the 2-for-2 against Thanos decks. So the middle location is Muir Island. I'm going to go ahead and play our Zabu. We're going to push some cards there early. We do get good value from our Killmonger. We might even want to do it early. That way their stones are not zero cost. It always feels good to clear out a whole bunch of their stones. I think we're going to take away the Quinjet value. I don't like the stones being zero cost. Hopefully here he plays 1, 2, maybe even 3 stones since they're going to be free. And we can just wipe them off of the board. And then we do have our Sera. That's going to reduce the cost of our cards. We can play our Maximus and our Enchantress. We could play Hazmat for pretty cheap, depending on what and how much they're running. The Enchantress in certain versions of Thanos is going to come in handy. Ooh, is he running a Thanos Galactus deck? Oh, no. Oh, is he going to Galactus us? Please don't Galactus us. We get Vulture, he gets Angela, so much more value overall from his. Oof, well, I don't like it, but we're going to play Sera to the right. If he drops a Galactus, then we lose some value. Okay, so the card comes down. It is Thanos himself. So not a Leech, thankfully, not a Galactus. We're going to go ahead and do an early Shang-Chi. Normally, similar to our Killmonger, we like to hold it. But with Thanos running Leech so often, I don't like holding those key cards. I'm going to go ahead and do Luke Cage in the middle so he can gain some value over time. We're going to take out the Thanos in the left lane, so that buff becoming a little bit of a nerf in this particular matchup. I mean, I guess, no, we have initiative, so, oh, he could have Kang. If he Kangs us this turn, then he's going to know the Shang-Chi is coming down. Oh. Maybe it is a Galactus version and he didn't get the right draw on, so then he jetted out. I don't know. I get to make the joke again. All right. Next up we have Before. And before we forget, I want to remind you guys that we are this close to 30,000 subs. We are under 1,000 subs away. So if you are watching this and you're not subscribed, but you enjoy the content, definitely consider subscribing. It helps bump that number up. And that 30,000 is a milestone I never thought we would be able to get to. And so we do go against a Thanos for the third game in a row. Unfortunately, the featured location does kind of help Thanos and his stones out a little bit. And it's just, and then Kang is decent in a Thanos rotation. And so we're seeing a lot of Thanos. Unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of Thanos. So a cool thing about the Quantum Realm, if we ended up playing something like Maximus and we let his base power reduce down to 2 and then play Luke Cage later, that's going to bump that back up. So we can act like we made a mistake and then take it back later, which is something I think is going to be really cool to potentially do to try to trick them and let us win the Quantum Realm. I'm going to play Maximus into mid. They already have 6 cards. They play 1, so they're only going to get 1 extra card from us playing the Maximus. So they don't get as much value in a Thanos deck, typically, as they would have otherwise. We do have Enchantress. We can eventually take out the Mr. Fantastic. This looks like it is probably the ongoing version of Thanos, so I think we do pretty decently against that one. I'm going to hold the Killmonger at least for now. Let's go ahead and play the Lizard. We know we're going to drop the Killmonger to clear the stones, so the Lizard is not going to be reduced in power. I don't know. Depending on what we draw, I don't really want to do the Typhoid Mary yet, or the Hazmat, or the Killmonger. So they play the Time Stone. Next turn, they'll be able to have 6 energy. They get a Quinjet and Quantum Realm, which is not a great flip for them by any means. We do get the Sera, which is great. The Sera is great at allowing us to play a lot of our cards on that last turn. I think we're going to play it into the Quantum Realm. We're going to let it get reduced down to 2. From there, if we draw our Luke Cage, we get a lot of value on the last turn. All right, and they play quite a few cards here on turn 5. They play their Khazar. The Reality Stone changes the Quantum Realm, and so now 6 cost cards are a little bit cheaper. They rotate into armor in the right lane, so that's okay depending on this last flip. The last flip is M'Baku. They're going to send that back into their deck, and they hit an early Valkyrie, which is not incredibly great for them. They do have the win over there right now. We do get Luke Cage. That is a beautiful last turn. Now we have to worry, especially if we see a snap come down, we have to worry about the potential Kang. But otherwise, I think we win this one. We can do Typhoid Mary here. That's going to bump us up to 14. This will be 15. This, and then do we want to do the kill? And then I think we do the, we kind of want to keep the stones though, right? They only have 2 ongoing cards over here, so they could bump it up with a Spectrum by 4, bringing them to a max of 19. Do we do the Killmonger or do we do an Enchantress? Let's do the Killmonger and then the Hazmat mid. I think that should give us a decent range of power. They have initiative, so depending on what they drop here, I think we should be able to make it where these stones going away with the Killmonger is going to take away so much of their push in Weir Island. The Typhoid Mary is going to be another one that I don't think they can overcome. And so let's see. They have the Soul Stone. If it's a Kang, that stinks. Okay, so the Spectrum does come down. The Spectrum's big, but we clear out their Power Stone in mid, which is 10 of their power. The Mr. Fantastic will stay, but that's perfectly fine. We should be able to outpower the right lane after the Hazmat comes down. If my head math is correct, that's going to bring it down by 4. We stay at 18, and we do clutch the 2-cube win. Now, in that position, I probably would have snapped a little bit earlier, a little bit more aggressively, had we had Luke Cage before that point. But since we didn't know if that was going to come down, it was a little bit tricky up until that last turn. And so we will absolutely take the 2 cubes. That is 3 for 3 against Thanos so far. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Prometheus, and they are not running a Thanos list. That is the first non-Thanos list we've seen. And so maybe they're running Shuri. Shuri is a little bit different beast, a different animal. We have to rely on a couple of different ways to win that matchup. So we have the Mindscape location, so it should switch our hands at the end of the game. Now we have a Scarlet Witch that's been in our deck, and we haven't seen her for the last 3 games. Maybe we can change Mindscape on turn 5 to switch it away. Now I don't like not playing anything, but we don't have a good play here. I'm going to hold our Killmonger. I'm going to hold our Hazmat. We have no idea what they're running, but by them skipping turns 1, 2, and 3, 1 and 2, maybe even 3, I have to start thinking that maybe it's a Shuri deck. The Adam Warlock comes down. Could be a Galactus now. Could be a Galactus. Could be a Valkyrie. Could be a strange Cerebro 2 that's making use of Adam Warlock with the Quantum Realm location. Let's go ahead and just play our Zabu. It's not great value, but it's okay. We're going to go ahead and play our Zabu into the Quantum Realm. I think they get 1 additional draw here, because if I was them, I would play another card into the Quantum Realm as well. So they do a wave. Oof. This does look like it is going to be a Galacti, unfortunately for us. The Adam Warlock, the wave, I assume that they either drop down with a Galactus, a Leech, a Doc Ock, but with Mindscape switching our... Oh, if they Galactus this turn, it won't switch our hands because Mindscape will no longer be there. It is what it is. We're going to go ahead and play our... Yeah, we're going to retreat. No such luck, Galactus. Enjoy your 1 cube. We will see you next time. Hello. All right, next up we have Keen Koala. The first location is the Altar of Death. They're running a Thanos list, so they're going to get so much energy throughout this game. I don't necessarily like it either. Let's go ahead and play our Lizard into the far right lane. They're playing 2 cards into the Quantum Realm. Okay, the Bishop. So they're doing a Thanos Zoo, I imagine. It sets the base of both of those to 2, but we do have our Killmonger somewhere in our list. The hub gives us a second Nova, which is really cool with the Altar of Death. We can eventually play it there and get... Maybe we play it on turn 5, and then we go into turn 6 with 4 extra energy, plus the power it pushes on the board. That wouldn't be terrible. We're going to go ahead and use our Maximus. A lot of times with a Thanos list, their hand is going to be so full anyways that they don't get value from an early Maximus. And so the Power Stone and is this the Time Stone. So they are going to get 1 extra card here. We pushed them from 5 to 7, but they missed their draw. All right, so how do we navigate this now? We still need to draw our Killmonger. We hope to draw our Killmonger. That's our best bet here, is to draw our Killmonger, destroy the stones that are across the board. I think instead of pushing our Novas into the Altar of Death, we're just going to do a Scarlet Witch. And then we're going to play the Novas naturally into probably the Quantum Realm. We're okay. They get set to 2, but then Soulstone, of course, brings them down to 1. And so let's see, the Bifrost. So after this turn, our cards are going to shift over to the right. That's not great. That caps out the hub. It brings our Scarlet Witch into mid, and they have the Space Stone to be able to move their cards around. Oof. With this one being the Zoo deck, the Carnage is not something I anticipated. With it being like the Zoo version, the Killmonger is going to be probably our best friend, is what we're hoping for. I mean, so they do push their cards over. They now have the Soul Stone and the Demon in the right lane. I still don't know that we do get the Killmonger, guys. The Killmonger value. Let's throw Typhoid Mary onto the board. She's going to reduce our card's power even further. Unfortunately, we don't have Luke Cage in our hand. We don't have our Sera. So we're just going to play it. If we destroy the 2 Novas, then, I mean, it washes out in a positive anyways. And so we will see. I don't think we win the right lane. We could potentially drop the Killmonger into mid, and then both of those cards get buffed up by the Novas. We'll see. We'll see what they play here. Okay, so they play the Quinjet and the Juggernaut into the Quantum Realm, so they don't get any value out of that one. We do have the Typhoid Mary to the left, and so let's see. We get the Hazmat. Do we ever play the Hazmat? Do something like Hazmat, and then we lose a lot of power with the Hazmat, I think. Most of their cards are 1 cost. So what if we did something like, if these 2 pop, if this one and this one pops, this is still 17, probably at least 19 power. This is going to be 7, this will be 8, and this will be 6. So it's 14. We don't even beat what's there now. So we would have to win the Quantum Realm and the left. It would just have to be the Killmonger. The 4 power, we have to hope that they don't play something additional that's not a 1 cost into the Quantum Realm. I'm going to send it. We don't know that that's the right call, but we're going to send it anyways. The Valkyrie to the left reduces the power of our Typhoid Mary, but we do get the Nova bonus, so she's going to be back up to 5, which should beat their Valkyrie in the left lane. We should win mid because they're only going to have the 2 power Juggernaut. What? We will take it. Absolutely, we will take it. What a wild game. Fortunately for us, the Valkyrie on the last turn into only 1 target for us was not huge for them, and we were able to sustain the lead. That is now 4-0 against Thanos lists, and then whatever we faced just before this one. Let's go ahead and jump into the next game. All right, next up we have Lone Star. The first location is the Fisk Tower. So cards that get moved there will be destroyed. We have to watch out for potential arrow plays. We're finally going against somebody that is not running Thanos. So let's see. The last person that wasn't running Thanos was Galactus, and we had to retreat out. Other than that, we've played 4 Thanos in a row, except for that brief intermission for a Galactus retreat at 1 cube. So they do play Sunspot. We have Killmonger in our deck. That always gives us... We don't have Killmonger in our deck anymore. He's in our hand now. So do we risk the Danger Room? Or do we start playing some stuff over into the Quantum Realm? Maybe we just do an early Typhoid Mary. I don't want to do Typhoid Mary into the Quantum Realm without knowing that we have Luke Cage to bounce him back. But if we top deck Luke Cage in the next couple of turns, we will play our Maximus and act like we accidentally let it get bamboozled over there into a 2-power card. So they do play Sauron. So they're going to have the Shuri deck. Most surely they're going to have Shuri. So how do we beat that? We have our Shang-Chi, so it would have to be a very well-placed Shang-Chi. I think maybe we risk it here. We know that they're not going to have any ongoing cards. Let's go ahead and risk our Enchantress. Potentially 4 power into the mid. We have the Lizard, but I'm going to hold it for now. It's a little bit cheaper of a resource, especially if we get our Sera. Let's see if it sticks. Poor Enchantress never stood a chance. Poor Shuri never stood a chance. They will get the double powered card next, but depending on where they play, they would have to play the double power resource here, and then if they're running the Arnim Zola, they're not going to be able to. So I think we push to win initiative on this turn. We're going to do Scarlet Witch, we're going to do Lizard. And then as long as they play and they're not skipping into a She-Hulk and a Taskmaster, we should be free to Shang-Chi whatever they played, or whatever big power play they end up going with. So the Scarlet Witch changes the Quantum Realm into Murder World, interesting. And Lizard, Lizard sticks, but he doesn't stick because their arrow is a murdering mad woman and absolutely obliterates the 2 cards we played over there. So I guess we could have Enchantress the Typhoid Mary. I always forget that that's a possible playline. We Shang-Chi here and then we Shang-Chi here and then we Killmonger, or do we Shang-Chi and then Luke Cage? Maybe we just Shang-Chi and Luke Cage. They do have initiative. Oh, they can. Oh no, they can't arrow here, guys. They can't arrow. They could plop down an armor, I guess, and that would counter us. They do snap, so it could be a Kang play to scout out what we're playing with. But let's go ahead and see. We're gonna do the... Okay, it is the Kang play. They are scouting us. And so the Shang-Chi comes down. It takes out their arrow. So even if they do a Taskmaster that copies the power, it doesn't quite get them what they need. And so instead of the Luke Cage in this next time around, I think we're gonna go with the Shang-Chi and maybe a Killmonger. They have initiative, so if they have armor, then they can actually play it here. No, they can't have armor. They played Sauron. So sorry about you. You can't play Cosmo or armor. If they play for the other 2 locations, they're going to have to get very, very lucky. So this is going to be 10, 11, 12, 13. If they play for these 2, they'll have to have 1 card stick in the danger room. And so they're not snapping this time. They're not quite as confident. They are playing for the 2. So the Typhoid Mary comes down. The Lizard, does it get destroyed? It doesn't. Oh my gosh. They beat us. Oh no. With the Kang Reed, they end up outmaneuvering us. It did come down to them getting lucky, and with, I guess, not lucky. They played the odds of the danger room, and they were able to come out successful. That one feels bad. That is a very similar version to Shuri that I'm running right now with the Sauron. I think Kang allows you the flexibility to try and find win conditions where they weren't there before. So instead of worrying about potential counterplays, you can see and scout out ahead of time and then adjust your play accordingly. We're going to go ahead and take the outplay from the Shuri Sauron player. Unfortunately, we had several ways we could have potentially won that, but just with them adjusting and getting the power into the danger room, it just wasn't able to happen. And so we will go ahead and end the video here. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave it a like and a comment down below. If you want to see more of this deck and other decks live in a less structured manner, make sure to check out our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/TLSG Snap. As always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.